Today we have Barbara here joining us. She is a parent of a child with CVI, and she uses in one of her toolboxes is CViConnect. And we'll talk about some other things that she uses as well to create a successful program for her son. And this event is recorded. If you have any questions, we have Stephanie Steffer along as well, so she can kind of interrupt, and you can either chat it, put it in the chat, and Stephanie will alert me, or you can just kind of chime in. And I'm going to put my phone on vibrate and my iPad on vibrate, or put the volume all the way down. There we go. And so welcome. Our first question, I think everyone has to know, is tell us about you and your family, Barbara. In short, I know we all feel so busy, but I feel every time I talk to you, I just am so in awe of all the things that you do, all of the supports that you have in place for your child. What does your family makeup look like, and how do you do what you do?
Well, thank you for having me on. I think, the best, I'm a busy mom, just like everyone else. And I have 4 kids. My oldest is going into middle school in like 2 weeks. And then I also have, Logan is a twin, and he's my, they are my youngest, and he's going into 2nd grade. So, I spend a lot of time on adapting, his materials for his therapies and for school. And that's where, CViConnect has been really helpful with that.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit of how you use CViConnect.
Well, usually I, collaborate with you and with his ABA therapist, and we use it to put together some activities for him to do with his ABA therapist, or with, sometimes he'll do it with his other therapists as well, like occupational therapist or his speech and language therapist. And one of the nice things is that the activity can be adapted to meet his specific needs, and to make it more about him, which, it's something that, that's really hard, because when I look for, apps, I have 3 other kids, and they use a bunch of educational apps. And every time I saw one of the educational apps, it just wasn't, something that Logan could use. They tend to be very visually complex, which makes it very hard for a kid with CVI to use. So, I always said to myself, well, what if I could kind of visually declutter, this app, that I would find for one of my other kids? It would be so great for him. What if I could change this? So, I get a lot of ideas from just, seeing other apps and think about, how could I change this for Logan? And, and that's where, I start getting some ideas where we've done things like letters, going over letters with him, but being able to talk about salient features with the letters, being able to highlight the salient features on the letter, other things like, now he's starting to do spelling, so, using words that are important to him, and then, pair them with, activities that are important to him, and be able to create something that he will be more likely to be interested in doing.
And you know what, I value our relationship so much, and if anyone goes into the CViConnect Letters activity or the reading activity, those I've cited your name in there because that's been a collaboration that I wouldn't have had all of the pieces that are in there, the different components, the different pages without that open collaboration with you. So I really appreciate that you've reached out and said, here's what a need is. And then we talk things through and go, this is going to be a good fit. And sometimes it goes back and forth a couple of times. I'll send you like, hey, what do you think about this? And we are open for activities that will benefit a lot of students, and we can put those in our libraries. So any parents out there, if you guys have any ideas that is a broad topic, we'd be more than happy to collaborate with you and taking your ideas of what your needs are. And I think that's exactly what you've done, Barbara, is that I wish an app could do this. And that's how CViConnect started, is Stephanie and I are both teachers for the visually impaired in Michigan. And we sat here and said, I wish there was an app that could do this. And then Stephanie's uncle was like, oh, well, that's totally easy. Here you go. Let's do, here's this. Is that what you want? And we're like, yeah, this is super cool. And so that philosophy has trickled down to my relationship with Barbara and what activities are needed and how to build that library. And when I first started off, I think with the reading activity, it was like maybe like 5 or 6 pages, and then with your input we were able to get to 8 pages, and so we just kept adding and kind of tweaking a little bit. So that was super awesome to have that input. So parents out there, if you have ideas or things that you think would be beneficial for a group, or even just if you want to reach out to us and say, hey, what are your thoughts about this, we would love to collaborate with you. So we're here to support you guys, parents and teachers in that avenue. And that's really where CViConnect Pro came from, is we want teachers for the visually impaired to be able to have the same capability that Stephanie and I have had for almost 8 years now, is to be able to create activities specific for our students. So yeah, this relationship has been really beneficial for myself and my students from utilizing Barbara's ideas. So I appreciate it so very much. Barbara, what are some other tools you use besides CViConnect?
Well, I think we're always, I think us, moms who have a kid with CVI are always looking for, a variety of things that we could use to adapt materials for the kids. So, one of the things that, I use, a good deal is something like Google Slides or PowerPoint, and things like, recently that they had the bubble word creator, to be able to, create the bubble words and then drop them into your Google Slides and PowerPoint. And then any app to try to adapt photos. Sometimes I want to remove a background or draw on top of a photo to highlight certain things. So then there's a variety of apps for that. I think one of the things that, really draws Logan's attention is to have things that are meaningful to him. It's always been very important. So I've been doing a lot of social stories or kind of creating our own books. So there's, it's something that he, that it's about him, that he knows about, that he's familiar with. I haven't found as much success with just kind of picking a book, and doing reading that way with him. It's been much more about something that's more meaningful to him.
And that's where we got all the reading ideas, the words for in the reading activity. And I'm just pulling up my little cheat sheet. I think I have them all listed out here now. The ones that we currently have. Oh, where is it? Is it phase 3? On the spot, I can't find it. Stories. Anyways, the ones that, I have it over here. I think it's, we have Mama, and we have Papa, Mom, Me, Drink, Eat, Go, Look, Play, Up. I think we have Down. We'll be working on Help and We, and then also using some of that functional language too. So words that students are going to see out in the community. So like in, out, men, women, boys, girls for like restrooms, exit, So all those are going to be activities that we're going to work on for that reading. So each one will have their own activity in our reading. And those are like 8 pages long, where it's got the word itself, it's got a picture, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. Barbara, I pulled up one of the pictures you sent me. Do you mind if I share it for the days of the week in your calendar that you use?
No, that's fine.
All right. Oh, my phone's acting silly. There it is. Okay. All right, let's see if you can see it. So Barbara's idea was to have the word day really emphasized. So I'll explain it for you guys as well, because it's a little hard to see. So she's got July outlined in red, and that's at the very top. And then she's got tape in little grids set up. So Sunday is sun, S-U-N, is in red, and then day, D-A-Y, is in yellow. And then so Monday, the M-O-N, is in red. So basically, day is in yellow in all of the words of the days of the week, and then the numbers are in red, and it's in the grid format. So it's just looking, instead of looking at a complex calendar, you're just looking at that day or that week at that time. And so so this one was Sunday was the 26th, and so each of those numbers are in the grid below. So even something like that was like, wow, I've done it so differently. I would use a different activity and I would just touch on it and it would say it, but I don't think I have anything so far that has the numbers or the dates or anything like that. So that is another example of ideas and I know there's so many parents out there that have amazing ideas. So again, let those ideas come in, communicate them to us. We are here and ready for them. So. And then what else there? So you create your own materials, and those are handmade and put on like a trifold board almost. Is there anything else that you hand make, or another like idea like that you've done?
Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, we have to hand make a lot of the things, because a lot of the stuff is just not sold commercially in a way to that could be used for a child with CVI. The adaptations are wrong, the colors were maybe inverted and what you would have wanted to use, so then you end up making the stuff yourself. I had gotten a calendar that I was going to use, and then realized when I went to use it, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have all, it's gonna be a grid of 4. I can't use all of that. That's gonna be too complex for him. So that's when I just, start, making stuff on my own. How can I, do this? And then a lot of times it comes, I start off with one idea and then I start doing it and realize that's all wrong. It's really, trial and error.
Have you seen the difference specifically in the calendar of when it was a 4-week versus that 1 week? Did you see a significant difference of his attention?
Yeah, I think one of the things that tends to turn people off with, I think, at least with my child, is for him, novelty is huge for him. That characteristic of novelty really affects him. So, whenever he sees something for the first time, he really, he doesn't have a very positive experience with it. There's no aha moment right there. It's not like, you putting on your glasses and all of a sudden you can see it better. No. Usually if it's something that's novel to him, and it could be something we had been working on the days of the week. We had a lesson on PowerPoint working on the spelling of the days of the week and talking about the days of the week. But then I said, I think we're now that he knows the days of the week, we're ready to move on to putting them on the calendar. Because that was the whole idea. We want to learn, and then now we need to make, the words, now we need to make it functional. How are we going to use these? We're going to put them on the calendar. So every day we can go over what day today is. So, a lot of the ideas are kind of as you go, trial and error, and it didn't come to me right away that I should highlight day and all of them. But then when I looked at all the words and I said, wow, they all end in day. Maybe I should highlight. It's kind of like a word family if you think about it.
Hmm.
So why not highlight that, hey, this is really useful. They all end in day. And let's focus on the beginning of the word and, really, what letters are involved in the beginning of the word, because they're all going to end the same. For him to be able to then also differentiate between the words, he has to identify, the letters, and then how do I tell the difference between the two? So, I think everything is just an evolution, as I start making adaptations. I've adapted all kinds of things.
Now, I
It
know when
sounds
you sent
quiet,
that,
sometimes it doesn't work.
yeah, I know when you sent me that picture, like it doesn't look pretty, but it's working for you. How long did it take to create that? With your little calendar grid and the days, and you print them and you get them nice and pretty on the computer, and then
Yeah.
print them and get them on there.
Well, I mean, it took me, I'm not a creative person. So if anybody who thinks that, I am not a creative person. This is not my wheelhouse at all. Um, but one of the things that's made it harder is COVID. You can't just go to the store and buy stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to also think about, what do I have readily available?
Hmm.
What can I get easily? I'm not going to wait a month for something to come in from wherever.
Yeah.
So I really kind of looked around the house, and that's actually one of those presentation boards.
Hmm.
I already had them around the house because I use them to block out the complexity when he's working on something. And I said, well, I don't want to ruin it. I'm going to turn it around. That's actually the
Yeah.
back of it. So
Okay.
I can still use the front of it to still block out like a presentation board. And then said, okay, I need to start. And I just said, you know what, sometimes I think I overthink it. It may not be perfect the first time. I actually had to unglue the tape a couple times because I wasn't right. I wasn't, I didn't think of something, and I had to go back and then, and make changes. But, it's something that just, kind of evolves. I start
Hmm.
off with an idea. I knew what I wanted to do, and I had already made some kind of other attempts that I wasn't happy with, and said, okay, well, I think this is what I wanted to do, and it's just, a mishmash of stuff. I print out the words with a color printer, obviously, and then I laminated them with some hard uh, material for him because he's got fine motor issues, so he'll tear up a lot of the items. So laminating is a must
Hmm.
for him, to say. So I laminated them, and I saw, I had started using magnets with him, and they were a lot easier for him to manipulate, because the Velcro, it was still kind of hard for him to pull it. So I decided to go with magnets. So they're actually
Yep.
all separate magnets. And then I put magnet
Oh,
on the uh, on the board so they could stick. And I've just, kind of, I've had to do this for, a variety of different things. We had already started doing a bunch of words, and printing them out and using them with him, for other lessons.
so for that one activity, if you had to recreate it now, how long do you think it would take you to recreate those materials?
Oh, for the calendar, I
Hmm.
mean, once you're final on the idea, it probably wouldn't take me that long. Probably, a couple hours maybe.
Yeah.
But you have to, it's a lot of steps.
Yep. And I think that's why Stephanie and I are so excited to finally be able to share activities with parents and teachers, is because even a couple of hours, what could you do with a couple of hours? So when we think like, holy cow, here's an activity, we can push it out to our CViConnect shared library and other parents. maybe they won't have to spend a couple of hours creating something. Maybe a TCVI won't have to spend their time doing it. So again, all those ideas that you guys have, please share them with us and we will do our best to get those created. Thank you.
No,
That's awesome.
you know, like we have to adapt so many things. You know, I say a couple hours, but you know, a couple hours after I've already kind of finalized the idea and I already know what I'm doing. And there was a lot of other steps that I did that I didn't like,
Yeah.
you know, that had to be scrapped. You know, that thing took a lot longer than a couple hours.
Oh, absolutely. Which is so funny because you're like, it doesn't look pretty. And you know what? Our stuff doesn't look pretty when you hand make it and you get what they need in that piece of it. And so I've made things very similar to that where it's like, oh, well, it's working. Let's just keep going with it. So I'm right there with you. Now you talked about working with an ABA therapist. Tell me about your collaboration with the ABA therapist.
Well, I often collaborate with an ABA therapist. I've been working with ABA for a couple years now with him. And you know, they've been really helpful in you know, for us to collaborate, to come up with ideas, to help him learn, you know, a variety of different skills. You know, it's not just for you know, educational purposes. Applied behavior analysis therapist is ABA. And they tend to provide services to children who have autism. That's kind of where you know, they really became popular. Just to answer that question. But you know, I thought, you know, that, you know, while my child doesn't have autism, you know, it was, you know, a great resource to use with him to you know, learn new skills at home, you know, that he may not be getting at school, or to reinforce skills that he's learning at school, you know, at home. So, you know, I usually collaborate with them to talk about, you know, what the goals might be that I, you know, where would I like to see him in, you know, next year, for example, kind of like an IEP meeting. You know, where
Mhm.
would I like to see him? And, you know, how can we create activities that he would enjoy and, would help him reach that goal. And, you know, so, you know, that, you know, has been, you know, very helpful for him.
And so when you go and talk with the ABA therapist, you guys agree on a goal and then they start brainstorming with you on some ideas of how to create those materials or what the materials that they would need, those stepping stones to get them to that goal. And then you bring in the CVI piece of it of how can we do this? And you guys, they use CViConnect there, right? And they collect data on it too, right? His data, from what you shared, was awesome and the growth that he made. That was super amazing.
Yes, you know, that's one of the advantages that, you know, that I had, you know, that I shared with you, that I, you know, that when you created the activity, you know, they run the activity and they collect data on how well he's using it, you know, and how close he's getting to his goal. And then I shared with you that, you know, that he had, you know, been making, you know, progress with that goal.
Yeah, that anytime I see progress, no matter how big or small, it is just so awesome to see those gains. And we celebrate the small gains. And when those big gains come and those, you know, annual goals are met, that is just such an awesome feeling for everyone on the team. So that's so amazing to see that progress. Is there, what has been, I know we've kind of talked a little bit about CViConnect. Is there anything that, I know you, so through CViConnect, we started our communication by you messaging through CViConnect, but you also have sent emails. And when we brainstorm, that's a phone call. So that's us collaborating and kind of bouncing ideas off quickly. You've sent me pictures before. Is there anything else that you would like to tell other parents about your experience with CViConnect?
Well, I mean, you know, I found it to be really useful. You've been very receptive to the ideas that I have, and we do bounce kind of, you know, ideas off of each other. You know, it's very, you know, it's very collaborative. So, I think, you're the tech behind it. And I think that, I don't want anybody to think that I'm a techie. I am so not a techie. So I definitely leave that up to you. And I think that's what's really helpful. I have the idea and how I think, I would like it to go. And, we discuss it, and, it's really nice for you to tell me, well, I can do it like this. The system will let it, will allow me to do that. And then you send me kind of the beta version, and I trial it, and then we decide whether, oh, we need an additional change, or we can go as is. And it's nice to have someone, to give you, a hand when you're doing these things. I mean, there's no way I would be able to do these activities without someone helping me like you. And so I think, that's, very helpful to know. You don't have to know the tech behind it. A lot of the apps that I use, it takes me a long time to figure out how to use the app, to then be able to use it, to then do what I want to do. So,
I'm right there with you. Some of
so
those
it's a lot of
apps are so different.
it's a lot of time to get
Mm-hmm.
acquainted with how to use an app, to then be able to, have it do what you want it to do, and to put it into the activity. So, this is definitely, it's very helpful, because I don't have to know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie, CVI, I've been working with this app for about 8 years. So there's definitely a learning curve, but now I'm in my routine. I'm just plucking away, and it is so awesome to be able to produce an activity and then send it your way and say, hey, what do you think about this? So I would love to share one of the activities that I made for Barbara. And so this is one of our reading activities. We have it labeled in a phase 3. And so the first page is Miss Barbara. I'm going to stand up to do it. I could have used my special technology where I can share my screen, but we'll get that next time. So here's Barbara. When you touch on it, oh, I turned my volume down. It says Mom. And get it all the way up. And then the page turn is at the bottom. And again, so here's Barbara. When you touch it, it says Mom. And then here's the word highlighted in with the red outline. Mom. And it says Mom again. And so here's the puzzle shape matching piece of it. So if I touch Mom, it says Mom. If I touch try again. So if I touch the non-preferred word, it'll say try again. Mom. And when I touch up here, it says Mom as well. So to really reinforce that those are the same. And then we put it in a sentence format. So this one says, I love Mom. When I touch on Mom over here, it says Mom. Mom. And when I touch over here, it says, I love Mom. So I love Mom. It'll say the whole sentence. And then you have your choices down here at the bottom, Mom and want.
Oh, and
now here's this.
Up.
Yep, so you can drag them up or you can just touch it. So depending on what the student's abilities are, if the student's doing a gaze, they can look at it down here. So you don't have to drag it up. They can just gaze at that correct answer or what their answer is, and then you can touch it and then give that reinforcement that it is the correct answer. This one we also wanted to work on spelling. So those kind of go hand in hand, right? Spelling and reading. So if you touch on the top part, it'll say the word. If you touch on the box, it'll say what letter's supposed to go there. And then you can drag it up here to spell the word. And then the next page is without accommodation. So here's a picture of Mom, and then here's the unaccommodated words down below. And again, they can make the choice of which one, Mom. And it'll say it out loud, auditory for them. And this one is in a sentence format, because when we read, our end goal is they'll be able to read in a sentence format. And so we have 3 different sentences here. Mom is highlighted in red. If I touch on the white letters, it'll say read the sentence. And if I touch on the red outline, it'll say what that word is to really reinforce that piece. And then here's the end goal is without any accommodation, same thing. I touch on the sentence right here, it'll say, I can hug mom. And then if I touch on mom, it'll say mom. So we could not have done that depth of quality of activity without you, Barbara. So I know I use that with my students all the time. So I really appreciate the brainstorming opportunity that we had during that piece. And I think we'll open it up for questions at this point. If anyone has any questions that you want to ask Barbara or anything of how she does what she does. So see a couple of people in here. And I'll open it up to you, Barbara. Is there anything else that other parents, you know, anything that we haven't talked about tonight that might be helpful for any other parents?
Well, one of the things I was going to mention is, like for that activity in particular, as I mentioned before, novelty for him is very, very difficult. So sometimes it takes, a little while for him to go through the whole thing. We may start off with, the first time he sees the activity, even though, yes, it's a picture of me. And so, so that's, helpful for him. Yeah, he may need some additional time to get kind of used to the activity. So we may only do the first couple pages, and, today, the first time. And the next time, maybe we get a little bit, later in the activity. So it's not that we're, you don't have to use the whole activity all at once. If you see that, the child is getting overwhelmed or, fatiguing, you can stop, at page 2 or page 3 and kind of build, as you go with the activity.
Yeah, like I said, I've had so many students, and sometimes, I'll work on just the spelling page with my students too. And so it just depends what time you have, what skill you're going to focus in on. And the nice thing for CViConnect Pro is a teacher for the visually impaired, if they have that, or, if a parent purchases it, either way, they can go in and just copy those pages and just change that image of mom. So I think there's only maybe 3 images. I'm looking at my little cheat sheet I got here. There's 3 pages on there where you would just copy just those pages, and then you could put your picture of yourself on there. So your child will see you as as the mom. So I think having CViConnect Pro has been awesome, where not only can you have your preferred image, you can recreate and accommodate things specific to your child. So don't see any other questions. I'll put Stephanie on the spot. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Stephanie, to this? Or if any other parent has a question to ask, go ahead and ask it at this time.
I was just going to say, if any parents have questions, feel free to just unmute yourself, or if you're not sure, because we all kind of keep talking and chiming with different ideas, feel free to raise your hand and I can unmute you as we get ready to, or you can message me in the chat box. We've got some conversations going on in there privately, which works great too, and that's fine. If you'd rather just message me privately, you can, or Julie or even Barbara, you feel free to do that. As a great place to reach out to us. If you haven't already, feel free to check out our website, CViConnect.co. So CViConnect.co, and I'll type that in the messages as well in case anyone needs it. And that's a great place that might answer some of the questions in general about what the app is and who it's kind of designed for and how all that goes, in case you needed some more background information on who we are and what we do aside from that. So thank you, Barbara, so much for joining us. I really love hearing your side of it from the parent perspective. I know Julie's been working closely with you, but I appreciate hearing about the story between you guys and hearing a little bit more about Logan from you. I mean, I talked to Julie about how you guys have been collaborating too, but it's nice to hear from Mom. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And also on our website, we have, Stephanie and I have our email, so feel free to, after this is posted, feel free to reach out to us. We are here to support you. We're teachers for the visually impaired, we're parents, we understand the mad chaos, and I feel like that's where we have to learn to thrive right now, and I'm just getting in that groove, starting back to work and everything, so definitely reach out to us. We're here for you. All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, I think we will sign off. Thank you again, Barbara, and have a wonderful night, everyone.
I think there was a question there.
Oh, how is the app useful for 11 months old baby with CVI? So we have, let's see, I'll go into this one. I got my little cheat sheet of all the activities that we have in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and I'm going to be reorganizing them. So we'll have like math, and then it'll say whatever counting activity or adding. So it will just be adding some categories to the titles. So for phase 1, if your child's in phase 1, and our phase 1 activities are really a model, and they're a stepping point to phase 2 activities. So the current ones that we have for phase 1 is we have a bubble machine, and so that was just a video of bubbles going up with different colors. I think there's blue, red, and yellow. We have a color glow activity, so we have a blue color glow activity, purple, red, and yellow, and those are just little circles kind of moving around with that color background and some kind of twinkles and some stars, so getting their attention to that color and that movement piece of it. We've got some songs in there, so we have Old MacDonald, and we have, I think the outline, there's a red and a yellow, so depending what your child's preferred color is. There's also a duck activity for Old MacDonald. There's some shapes activity, which would be a little bit older for an 11-month-old, but and then we have some slinky activities. So a lot of these activities came from recommendations for phase 1 activities. So having a slinky hanging down with a flashlight in it. Stephanie and I know firsthand, trying to carry a whole bag, trying to go into a home visit, or when working with a student, it's difficult carrying that bag of trying to all have a very well versed materials for your student. So the slinky activity, there's several different colors in the slinky, and those are already accommodated in the sense of single color with movement, plain background with illumination. So those are really our phase 1 activities. If you're noticing that your child's not responding to the phase 1 activities, try doing those real items. So having a slinky and then pairing it after they have multiple opportunities with a real 3D slinky, then pairing it with CViConnect, the slinky activity. We also just added there's a glow ball. So that was just a ball that I got on Amazon, and when you press it, it would change colors. So it would stay on one color. And my son, I was really surprised that it didn't, the battery didn't die. And so that's when I decided it was a really good quality item that I wanted to share with everyone, because he would use it as a nightlight. So we would turn it on, and I would come in the next morning and it would still be on. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was on all that time. And so, night after night, that ball, he kept turning it on and using it as a nightlight. And I said, wow, this battery is really it's really long lasting, and it has a nice squishy overlay, so it's nice and soft and squishy. And so I have that link in the instructions when you go into the glow ball activity. So again, if your child needs a 3D item, you can go and purchase that item. I think it was like $20, so it was cost efficient as well. Maybe I have it over on my bookshelf, but I didn't see it right there. Probably up in my son's room. And then I think the last one was choice making. That one's a little bit older, so that's I created that for a student of mine that was working on introducing videos. So what her current speech and language pathologist had was she was making a choice from her favorite doll and maybe maybe her favorite light up toy. So she just had 2 pictures on like a black trifold board, but she wasn't looking at it. Well, the reason she wasn't looking at it is it didn't have color, it didn't have movement, it didn't have illumination. Reducing the noise background sometimes was difficult depending where she was positioned. So there are a couple of things that, it didn't meet her need for CVI. And so having it on the iPad, I was able to do 2 videos. So again, it meets that illumination, the movement piece. So once I started doing that, and I actually had her mom right there with me, and we were collaborating, going, well, what do you think about this? What if I do 2 videos side by side, and let's see. And as soon as I put it up, she looked right at it, and I was like, oh. And for the mom to be able to be there and see that in that moment was just so awesome. So again, that collaboration with your TCVI is so essential. So those are the current activities that we had. We were trying to brainstorm other activities like a red toothbrush. So that might be something coming up, because I really wanted to make sure I was modeling what it looked like. A lot of times, just for an example, one of my big aha moments I wanted to share is for like a binder, we'll just pretend this is a binder. I would think having the whole binder being red would be beneficial. And then I learned having where you want the child to grab the binder is going to be beneficial. So I put like a little red rectangle here and maybe a little red rectangle here, not having the whole thing. So I think depending on what phase your child is on, what that intervention is going to look like. So I hope that answers your question. I know at 9 months of age, Christine Roman Lancy has recommended interventions or to be able to do the assessment. And after that point, you can do interventions. And I'm seeing a whole bunch of questions coming in. So let's see if I can get to them.
I think I've got most of them covered. One of the things that we talked about in the chat, in case those of you haven't looked at it, is the phases of CVI there's phases 1, 2, and 3. And so as kids continue to have those adaptations in their environment, their brain can better process the things that are around them. They can learn to visually process what they're seeing around them. And so they're going to progress from phase 1 to 2, and then eventually, and hopefully phase 3. They have that opportunity to reconnect those synapses in the brain and allow them to process that visual information. And so CViConnect is an iPad app that provides activities for kids in each of those phases, where we've kind of leveled them off so that they're developmentally appropriate for kids, but they also allow them to visually access things that are in their world and understanding what they're seeing. So in that phase 1, you might just want them to turn their head and look at things like Julie was talking about, the glowing ball and things like that. But as they continue, as Barbara was talking about with Logan, we're looking at now, I want you to look at the words and understand the fine details of that word and what makes mom the word mom, and how is he going to know that? And so teaching him those details as you get further. So CViConnect is an app that has helped bridge that connection. In order to get CViConnect, you do have to get a subscription from our website, CViConnect.co. But the app is available in the App Store in both US and Canada. Unfortunately, we are not available elsewhere, so I apologize. I know we've got a couple of people joining us that are not in the US or Canada, but if you would like to, we do have a newsletter. So if you go to our website and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can sign up for our newsletter, and or even email us and indicate that you are interested when CViConnect is available in your area, and let us know where you are at, and then we can try to keep you informed as that continues to progress. So the way that works is we have to kind of get approval from the App Store and continue to make those connections. So as we become more widely available, we would love to connect with you. But unfortunately, we are only available right now in US and Canada. So hopefully I answered some of those questions that were there. I think that might be it, Julie.
All right. Well, we are here to answer any questions. Feel free to email us. If you are a subscriber of CViConnect, then the messages within the app is also a way that connects us. We get a message straight to our cell phone, and sometimes I surprise parents by texting back or messaging back within like a minute, and they're like, how did you do that? So I think those are my favorite moments where I can respond back so quickly. But if it's more complex, then sometimes Stephanie and I need some time to chat, so we always appreciate your patience in that manner. So well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a great night.
Thank you.